Any other chairs need to be moved? Next.
All right. Okay, if everyone's ready. Good morning. It's 10:07. We'll call this meeting Wichita County Commission to order. Everyone please rise. This time I'd like to call on Commissioner Beecham to give the invocation.
It's my honor to call on our county treasurer, Mr. Bob Hampton, to do that for us.
Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, we approach you with grateful hearts, thanking you for so many blessings. This wonderful country that you provided, the fact that we live in the great state of Texas. We're all Southerners down here, Lord, and we thank you for that. We thank you for the privilege that we have of coming to you as we try to be good Christians, but we fail you every day, Lord, so we thank you for that grace that all we have to do is just ask you for forgiveness. And so we humbly ask that. Help us through this day. We're just proud to start this day, Lord, so thank you for our ability to wake up to it, this wonderful day that we have, and help us to take advantage of it. We're a little dry, Lord, so we ask for a little rain, if you be your will. We're struggling with this pandemic, Heavenly Father, and so we come to you as the healer. And we've got a lot of folks, good friends, all of us here in this room have got people on their mind. But we got county employees that need your help. Linda Barbosa and James Cowan and Commissioner Fincannon. We ask you to restore their health and return them to work. We're reminded at the same time of your healing mercy with Major Willie Wall and the fact that his eye surgery went well, and how great it is to live in a country where the medical situation is like it is. Help us to always cherish that and protect it. Heavenly Father, we just ask you to intervene now and help our country. Get us back on the right track. All this, we're very careful to give you all the thanks and the praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Y'all will join in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, the Texas pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Take your seats, please. This time I have something kind of special I'd like to do, and I appreciate it if Ms. Jones and Mr. Davis would join me up front, please. Well, I asked that a little bit from you all. Just in case, Commissioner Fincannon and I had a breakfast meeting last Thursday morning, so the protocol is for people who have had their shots is to mask them whenever you've been near someone that does test positive. So, this time, certificate of appreciation. This certificate is presented to Matthew T. Davis for 10 years of service to Wichita County. Congratulations on reaching your milestone service anniversary. Through your hard work, dedication, and loyalty, Wichita County is able to provide quality service to the citizens of Wichita County. In honor of your service, we are pleased to offer you a choice of anniversary awards. Please accept your gift as an expression of our gratitude for the contributions you continue to make every day. On behalf of the Commissioners Court, we recommend you for your service. We commend you for your service and wish you every success in your continued career towards your next milestone. Your commitment to Wichita County is greatly appreciated. Signed by Cheryl Jones. Cheryl, I'll let you present that.
Thank you for your service. I appreciate it.
partnership. I always look forward to any time working with you. So hopefully continue for a lot longer, especially for you, not for me. All right.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
all.
everything
Thank
you
you,
do.
Matt.
Okay. It is 10:12, and I'll ask for any public comments at this time. Anyone in the audience? Anyone on the phone? Hearing none, it's 10:12, and I'll close public comments. Would say that we always ask for comments on each agenda item, so certainly anyone is welcome to let us know they wish to speak to that. I'd ask the court to look at the consent agenda.
Motion to approve, Judge.
Second.
Okay, any comments, questions on the consent agenda? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, under general business, first item is a public hearing on the proposed 2022 budget and proposed tax rate. This is our fourth public hearing. This one had to be scheduled in addition due to, we missed a deal where we had to have a public hearing. That wasn't the problem. We had to take a vote at the last public hearing, which we voted at that. The vote was 3-2 against the tax rate and the budget as presented at that time. Now we're going to come back and we're going to vote again today. Now, this vote will be binding, and this will be what the court adopts. And we worked with to have Commissioner Fincannon appear this way, meets the legal requirements that he's visible to people and being shown, and all can hear and see him and see the members of the court to do this. The thing that most everybody focuses on is what is going to be the tax increase. And I've used the term 2 cents. Actually, it's only 1.9 and about 6 decimals after that. It's still pretty close to 2 cents, which would be roughly $10 per $100,000 of value you have on your property is the additional tax you're going to pay. The key things this budget does, it puts in money to give for the first time in 3 years, an across the board $1,200 raise to our employees, other than those who received salary adjustments last year of greater than $3,500 were not included in that. The second thing it did, it puts money in what's called the Permanent Improvement Fund. Now, we may have some relief in the money. Last week we approved $4 million to be spent on projects of the elevators and in the annex and in the courthouse. The significance of that, besides being a lot of money, is that will make this building, when we put those elevators in and they accommodate handicap, they will go, one of them will actually go down to the level of where the sheriff's office was forever. It will also go up to the 5th floor. The other elevator will go from the entrance floor up to the 5th floor. They will open front and rear. This will give us a lot of versatility in how they are used and all. And Commissioner Beecham is to be applauded for his work with our Harper Perkins and M&F Litigant to get these projects going and move forward. That will use a considerable amount of money out of the Permanent Improvement Fund. The good news is, with some work by Texas Association of Counties, National Association of Counties, working with the U.S. Treasury Department, we've gotten some clarification that we hope holds up in the final rules that are being published next month in the Federal Register that will tell us exactly how, but it appears much of that expense will be covered by the ARPA money. And that also has given us some latitude for certain classes of employees to significantly change their pay. The sheriff has fought for years an uphill battle in the salaries for jailers and for deputies. And due to some work to bring in other federal money, we are going to be able to improve those two salary areas significantly. There will still be higher paid people in other places in those kind of jobs, but I think Sheriff, it's going to give you all what you've needed for some time and hopefully be able to retain people. I got tickled when Sheriff and I discussed this a little bit last week. He said I mentioned that in front of some of the new jail people coming in and some of the current people, and everybody seemed to like that idea, and so we're going to hope that's it. We did receive a number of emails. I received one, and Commissioners received some, about asking not to raise taxes.
Maybe a meeting to get there now.
Well, Mark.
Allison? Oh, there we go. Full screen. There we go.
Okay.
Got it.
All right. New IT person out there. We have a problem on the fourth floor.
It'll remain a problem if you run out of me.
That really kind of sums up the budget. Appreciate many of you all have heard that every time.
If you can hear me, you are on mute.
Told you so.
David, can you do sign language for Mickey?
I've got something he'll understand, The police is late in the file. Yeah.
Val,
That young.
can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you now.
I didn't know you ever listened to me anyway. No comment? Okay. If there are not any questions by anyone.
Judge, I just
Yes.
want to make the comment, I think this is the first time in my history of serving, whether it be on the school board or here, that's 15 years, 7 years here, we had no one attend and voice an opinion one way or the other from the public. And I was just kind of, we received a lot of mask and vaccine emails, a tremendous amount actually, but no one showed up. And we were offered 4 meetings and I was kind of surprised by that. I thought that we typically have a regular, and his health must not be good, Judge. Do you know Mr.
I emailed him, I emailed Mr. Hillman and told him that had moved to this meeting. I think one of the things that helped Mr. Hillman was the excellent reply Mrs. Jones, our auditor, made to his concerns and showed him that she agreed that some of the things he pointed out we corrected. And yeah, I think where his biggest disappointment is that he thinks we ought to be able to lower the tax rate or not tax. And, no one's figured out whatever that 4th tax is to get rid of property taxes and personal income tax. We haven't figured that one out yet to try to make that a little more palatable. So, at any rate.
Judge, I did receive a lot of emails and a lot of texts after the last vote, though. There was
Yes,
communication.
there were
after that.
communication. I just thought it was, even our nightly meeting, we didn't have, Lynn Walker was the only one that attended.
Cheryl was here.
Cheryl.
And Cheryl, she took time off to come and be a part of it.
Okay. All right. Nothing else on that item? Okay. The next item is discuss, consider, and take action on the following. Item number A is discuss, consider, and take action on the maximum salary section within the proposed 2022 budget to include any addition and/or changes. I asked the commissioners to submit anything that they have received to make any modifications to what we had up to that point for today. And one that was submitted was add an additional position for a total of 2 in Department 499 at a salary of $31,200 to remain in Department 409 and needed by the tax assessor collector. In my proposed budget, I gave him 1 position and some part-time money. I still think that's correct. Commissioner Watts, I think you proposed that.
Yes, I just wanted to speak to that. As you know, our volume was up overall considerably from in the year 2020 over 2019. You would have thought it would have been opposite of that, but it was not. We suffer at our precinct in Electra. It's can be the odd man out sometimes, as we've got expert help out at Electra and everybody defaults and wants to utilize it, but Kenny is needed in other places when we get short, and we've remained short. And as you know, several years ago we asked for some personnel help there. Tommy did give us 3 employees out of that ultimately took us to a lot tighter position in staffing. And as we experience this COVID stuff, it just delays everything, or backlogs everything. Our lines are longer, are unable to be accommodated in our rural settings. So we just, when Tommy came and spoke to us concerning those, who knows how long that'll take, who knows how long it'll take to even backfill some positions, as tough as the workforce is out there right now. I just wanted to shore ourselves back up, and our volume's not going to decrease, it's only going to increase. And of course, we've had so many additional rules that affect that office, as well as the correspondence to taxes and other things that now are laid upon us in this year. It's just something that I feel that we need to address and go ahead and get back to at least a comparable position where we can at least man our locations and try to provide the service that we are intended to when we initially took positions away from that department. And we're still net 1 out of that department, and with temporary help we're able to expedite. We have a tremendous amount of tax statements go out that require some additional help, and we do have vendors that help us with that. But just in the event that we get in short supply, it allows us to try some employees as well to see if they fit when we hold on some temp monies to look for employees. And I think that's what the policy of that department has been, is to utilize that to bring on additional employees as needed. But I do think at a minimum we're too short, and we don't want to close our office at the worst time we could possibly imagine. When tax statements go out or money starts rolling in, it just becomes a burden on everyone, the taxpayer as well as the department, and just getting behind and can't get caught up. So that's my recommendation. And Tommy did speak to the commissioners about that, and we felt like that those 2 positions were justified just simply because of the increased volume. And we anticipate that volume to only grow.
Well, excuse me.
Go ahead, go ahead. I'll ask my question.
That volume increase you mentioned, that was only in tags and automobile sales. Automobile sales were up
17%, but combined overall, the overall volume of both departments drives him up like 5 or 6% overall. I mean, $10 million more dollars taken into the department than normal.
But part of that was due to tax increases, wasn't it?
Well, Judge, it shouldn't have been. We were no new revenue last year.
We were, but others weren't.
Mm.
And we collect for everybody. If y'all are gonna do that, I'd rather you put it in 409 with that other position.
Sure.
You know, we make a little headway, we adjust people to those hours of service at those outlying cities. And, you know, while everybody'd like it, but they also, you know, don't want to pay more in taxes. And someplace, if we keep adding back, we haven't made any cuts. So,
Well, and the 409 is recommended in this motion here that we put it there until Tommy can find what he considers to be a valuable employee to backfill with, and I think that there was no concern with that whatsoever. But like Willie pointed out to me a few weeks ago that, you know, even in that department, they're very frugal with the temp funds spent and try to watch it accordingly, and have done a good job historically with that. It's just nice to know you've got that cushion there if something goes amiss while you're needing to get the bulk of the work out.
Do we have a better understanding of how the register out of county will affect us?
No, that's an unknown, Mark. I think that we don't know whether people working here will come over.
It would seem like it could have an impact on Electra, being it's adjacent to another county that might be closer for
Yeah.
Wilbarger residents to come over into Electra than to drive to Vernon.
And what really drives that too, Mark, is when you have an employee like Kenny and they've trained him across the board, people default and they'll even drive from here to there because the knowledge about registering trucks and doing those kind of things that become tricky, he's expert with that, and so it's just hard to notify the general public, hey, Kenny's got to go to Iowa Park and work today because we're sick an employee and we've got a backfill. There's no way to curtail the volume of people that still come in and check to see. So hopefully this will give us some ability to be consistent with our office hours there, because it is just very difficult when you're shorthanded not to fill other areas. You have to do that, and so it just leaves our customers kind of in a lurch, or they're going to have to drive to Wichita after coming and checking. So
You're not gonna know what that volume does till you get a year's
I
experience.
think so.
That's-
And also the volume, Mark, about the, as soon as these statements go out, people are going to start calling and utilizing any source they can about the postings that we've got for information. I know that that's going to impact us greatly, at least for a while, till people have some questions answered. And they're going to see those appraised values, and that have, even with the minimal, the minutest of rate changes, it's still going to be an increase for a lot of people, and they're going to ask why. And now there's so much more that the tax assessor collector has to
Sure.
handle in that regard.
Well, there's some unknowns, so this is just adding one more position besides what's in the budget. Is that correct?
That is
One more
correct.
into 409. It's
That is
adding two
correct.
instead of one.
That is correct.
Okay, not adding two additional.
Right.
Okay.
well, but it is adding 2 additional employees,
Yeah.
and you've had this done for the last 4 years without anybody walking through that door and complaining about it at any of our meetings that they couldn't get service. I would have thought one of the other things might be Tommy did a great job of bringing United Supermarkets on board. He tried to get an outlet in, another outlet, I think it was in Burke, but have we looked at the banks or someone else that might do that work as a service in those areas? And I don't believe he did look at, when we had a supermarket operating in Burke, they were going to do it, and then they closed. But there are several banks in those locations that I would think might be approached about that.
I think we'll see change come across the next 5 years in technology that'll expedite some of this, but I'm just been amazed because in my history here, I'm not used to those long lines out the annex, even here at our big lobby where we have a lot of people. But it will really surprise you. Y'all have all seen that line here, but it'll surprise you that in Electra, Texas, we'll have 3 people waiting in the lobby while one gets serviced, and that's just shocking to me. That
The
there is
building
that
and-
many people, and our park is double that.
Always full in Owl
Always
Park.
full,
Yeah.
and it just seems like it used to not be that way. I can remember going and getting my tags, be the only person go in the door and sit there and get them and leave, but now that just doesn't happen, and I don't know what drives that, but
Well,
Well, it's the 2,000 less people we have. That census report is the
Well-
biggest fiasco I've ever seen.
well, putting that into 409 still gives control to the Commissioner's Court, whether or not to grant that position during the year based upon actual needs, so I don't,
well, they do a great job of statting their work volume, and so we'll be able to understand it and
Yeah.
see it, and
with a couple of unknowns out there, just parking those in 409, I don't see an issue with.
Okay. Is there a motion then to,
so moved.
Is this for the entire?
no,
number
just
two?
for that
Just for
I.
I. Oh, we're doing one I.
One at a time.
Okay. Yeah,
I'll
second.
second that one.
Mr. Beecham beat you.
All right.
Okay, any other discussion, anyone in the audience? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Beecham to approve the adding of a second temp position to 409 for the can be considered for the tax office. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Aye. Motion passes 4-1. Okay, item number 2 on that is add increase of $1,200 in each court coordinator position in departments 410, 441, 442, 444, and 445. That is the district judges and county court at law, judges, court coordinators. They received a significant increase in their pay last year, and therefore they fell into the group of people that I said that anyone that received over $3,500 increase in 2020 or later would not be considered for that $1,200. And they each received approximately $8,500 during that period. And Ms. Flores and I talked, and she reminded me with vigor that we did an increase to her people based on a rearrangement of personnel one year, and then held back those people were not given the across-the-board raise the next year. So it's not unprecedented, and I certainly think it's not unreasonable for that, given that considerable change in their salaries, to not grant that. Commissioner Watts, I believe that was yours.
Yes, I just, most of those positions, the $1,200 doesn't significantly change those. It just kind of keeps them in line with where we thought that they should lie. Most of our chief deputies of sorts are $45,000 positions. These are $47,000, $48,000 positions that I would just like us to keep them in line, and I just wanted to try to stay as fair across the board. These came to us with a game plan to eliminate someone out of the administrator's office, and so she gave up a position for these clerks to take on more. We already knew that the Departments 440 and 441 had an extensive list of things that they keep a fast momentum. They do a lot of probate work themselves as well, but those district clerks, the bailiffs had taken on extra responsibilities with the decrease in Aniel's department. By losing an employee, they agreed to take on an employee, and I think they brought a great ideal forward by utilizing that and dispersing a department that wasn't within themselves, it was outside. They just decided to split that cost or that work between the courts as it fell. And I just hate to leave them out of the equation, and there were others that, we had to adjust positions throughout this pay increase, and they're justified. They needed to be put in line, and I think these people play a very important role. The faster they can push work, the more favorable that is to us. I hate to give them any type of sour feeling in there, because it's so very important that they maintain a hefty workload, and that's going to just increase here in the near future drastically. And I just want them to feel part of the county family as to what we did in pay increases, and I felt like it was justifiable.
What positions were granted a pay raise over the 3,500 amount last year that will not be getting the 1,200 this
There
year?
were some in Mr. Gillespie's office. Can you remember, Nancy, that was public defender?
Yeah, it was the staff.
I mean, if you're gonna change that, then you need to change it for everybody, but they have been compensated. We are still getting some overtime out of the court administrator's office, the court coordinators in the district courts. Generally, their schedule is only 36 hours a week. I think the other compensation was more than fair, but I don't think, I think if you look back, and some of you were here on the deal that we did with the district clerk's office, and you felt fine in doing that. Now we're gonna change that. I don't follow that.
Well, and I think the district clerks, I was not in favor of that at the time being, but Judge, I don't believe a year transpired. I believe that was done in the early part of the spring, and then when we got into budget and decided to give increases, that they had received them a few months earlier, but that's not the case here at all. I think we expected a whole different layout of what would take place here. And I noticed, and John, you can speak to this, I noticed this week several times, y'all were all still locked in place here doing court, I guess. Everybody had to stay. When I left several times, y'all were all, and I don't know if it's court going on or different two maybe going on, but it means a lot to those to stay hooked and push that work. And I just don't want to do anything that, we're not talking about a great increase by any means, and it just keeps the positions whole and lets us, because we could go easily 3 years again before we see this same thing happen. And I think more than likely it will be, and I just hate to leave anyone out over just something as slight as a $1,200 adjustment, and that's what we've really looked at it to be. It wasn't a pay increase for most, it was just an adjustment in the world we live in.
It's gonna unbalance your chief deputies,
Yeah,
for district, county clerk, probably some others. I'm just going through the list here. That's a little bit of a problem.
While the court administrators have a very important job, they don't have the supervisory responsibilities that the chief deputies do, and the hours that often those chief deputies have to put in. I just feel like that we've reached a very good level on them, but it's still not doing what I hope to see it do. And we haven't even been in full-blown court. We've had two of the judges now have brought things together and been able to orchestrate and have jury trials and do well with it. But we've gone a long time that everybody's kind of been on hold.
Well, I was here when we did that with the district clerk, and remember very well that Ms. Flores was not very happy about it, and I mean, that did happen. I kind of agree with you, Judge. If you're going to go back and pick up one group, I think you need to consider everything. This is a tough one because, what do you do down the road if you get to the point where the volume dictates you've got to add people back to that office, and that's always a possibility. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns we're dealing with here. No, and I don't want to limit anybody. Don't want to slide anybody, but it's a problem.
I just
we
know
need
on,
wise counsel.
I really felt like that the only ones that were left out of this increase were these 5 individuals here, because we had such a realignment for the district attorney as well as public defender that they often need to do that because they have to bring in who they bring in at different times because people up and leave them, and it's a job. It is a tremendous job finding someone to fill those positions as we've needed. John's done excellent with that, and we've always improved ourselves, and it just takes some time to do that. And so he's, of course, not spending money while that is occurring, but at the same time, he's unable to get the volume of work done that he needs. And I don't want to see that be tainted here anywhere these people feel left out of that equation, because I just couldn't find the other ones left out other than new people that position may have changed on them altogether, but they were new to the position.
Hey, Jeff,
Yes, sir.
I believe that the realignment, I've spoke before that I think that realignment of salaries, doing away with the position and dispersing it amongst your other employees, in my opinion, is basically wrong to start with. It should have never been done. Those employees were given an $8,000 raise. You talk about them feeling left out. There was a lot of people last year that when they saw them get an $8,000 raise, they felt left out. So you can look at that either way, but an $8,000 raise is a pretty good raise compared to a $1,200 raise this year that most people are getting.
Well, it is, but if I spread it across the next 4 years, it doesn't amount to a lot.
2,000 a year. That's bigger than usually anything we do. Okay, are we ready to take action on this? Is there a motion to?
Well, I'd make the motion that we, with our county adjustment, we keep these coordinators included in the $1,200 increase.
What about the others that didn't receive it?
If you would tell me the specifics, Judge, I would tell you, but
Well, you could make a blanket of all others. I think it amounted to, it was 8 to 10 people. Seemed like it.
Now,
Yeah.
Judge, Ms. Flores has a question.
Yes,
Well, I
ma'am.
was just wondering if that would include 5 years ago when my people didn't get the 4% on top. I think you'd have to go back that far. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I'm just not aware of those other decreases, and I've worked that salary spreadsheet as much as anybody has, and I know that John had some decreases, but they were selected decreases that were position changes that he didn't want to pay a brand new person the same as what an older person was making, but I don't think they pertain to because they had received significant increases because I don't remember giving anybody significant increases. I do remember us doing this and alleviating or giving the bailiffs more responsibility and more work, which the district judges and county court at law judges were in favor of.
Well, they were, but nothing changed in the county court at law people because they do both civil and criminal for the judges. Now, it was adding, after 2 of the ladies that had worked in the court administrator's office went to the district judge's offices, then they had a good grasp of what to do. And there was good merit in the fact of them picking up and being able to work with the court administration office to take on, have more people power trying to reach the same results. But, you know, we rewarded that based on what we hoped was gonna happen out of that. Of course, that hadn't been tested because we haven't had court volume.
No,
until
and
just
that's
recently.
that's not their fault,
No.
but to go 4 years without a pay increase, it just doesn't seem right when we determine that those bailiffs should make the kind of money they need to be made to do the responsibilities. Otherwise, why did we give them the $8,000 if we didn't think that they were justifiable in receiving it?
We did.
And those positions were worth it.
And if you stretch that out, Commissioner, over the 4 years, it's still better than 2,000 a year.
Well, I know, but what my point is that if they weren't worth the money that when we give it to them to begin with, to make those positions that relevant, then we shouldn't have given it to them when we did.
Okay, you had months to look at this. That letter went to you and every department head, said that from the get-go. And, you know, that's what throws me in this. Okay, is there a motion to take action?
So moved.
Is it for just those positions or the additional, looks like 5 positions in the
Well,
DA's office?
In the where Mark?
DA's office, is it, was the amount over 3,000, Judge?
Over 3,500.
So there's
That
actually
was in
4
the
more.
DA and the public defender's office both.
Yeah, there's 4 additional positions.
3,500 5 years ago. All my people received under one person received 2,800. So that's under 3,500 too.
And the
And
raise
then-
was 1,200 that
The
year,
raise is 4%.
4%.
4%.
Yeah, I'm not interested in going backwards. I'm only interested in this, and if there's some contingency I can make to that, I certainly don't mind to look at those departments or those individuals that were left out on a case-by-case basis. This was one that I knew was evident to me, but I'm not aware of any other positions that were deliberately not given because they had received greater than that kind of raise. Because I just don't remember us giving anybody outside of raise time any substantial increases.
Okay.
Well, there's, from what I can, just scanning through this year's budget, it looks like there's 4 positions that
That's what I saw, but I
on the
didn't.
DA's office. It's 06, 07, 18, oh, I'm sorry, 19, and 13. But, I mean, if you make an exception, you
Yeah,
accept
but Mark,
for
I
all.
think those were John's recommendations. I mean, we basically,
I'm not trying to get in the middle of this, but it's exactly the same thing. We reorganized our office and eliminated some positions and received some raises. So I'm not trying to inject myself in terms of, it's identical to what happened with the
Yeah.
district courts.
okay.
Is there a second to this motion?
Is it inclusive of,
He said no.
no?
Well, I say it's inclusive of those other positions if we place them in 409 and look at them on an individual basis. I just don't want to make a motion that I'm unaware of or without talking to others. We've heard from the district judges. We know what their anticipation was here, and they never were made aware or thought that they were going to hinder their employees in any
They
shape,
got
form,
the
or
same
fashion.
letter at the first of the budget season as
Well,
everybody else.
I know, Judge, but what I'm saying is that this is the only one that I've heard of. No one else has come to me and said, hey, we were left out of this, or my employee was left out of this, please fix it or adjust it.
Well-
This is the only group of individuals that have done this in these departments.
Well, I just read off the DA for 29, 6, 7, sorry, 13 and 19 positions. And Mr. Gillespie's here in the courtroom, so.
Well, he said what he said was, you know, he submitted it under, that's what he understood. You know, if you're gonna do it, I'd open it ended so that we don't overlook anyone that you take it in.
Yeah, I don't mind to do that. I don't want to automatically do it without looking at what we're talking about on those other positions. I don't mind to amend my motion to reflect that, and I certainly don't mind to discuss those ones that appear to have been left out.
I just think we had, you know, not one person came back to me as county budget officer and said, hey, wait a minute.
The district judges did. They came and spoke to us here.
Okay.
But that was the only one that approached us and called that out and noticed it.
Was I not at that meeting? I'm trying to recall that.
Gary came and spoke to us, I know, and Jeff McKnight did too, because Jeff's comment
Yeah,
was,
okay.
why would we try to
Make
do
an
something
exception.
innovative and be penalized for it?
And you're not doing it. $8,000 raise is not exactly a penalty.
And if I could just say one more thing. When we did this in 2015, we took the salary back then was like 26,000. We saved the county money and only spent 23 of that, and we didn't include retirement benefits and all that.
Yeah.
As far as I know, the district judges were the first and only people to say, here's the salary, here's the 20-something thousand in benefits, that's what we're going with.
Yeah.
And they took, I mean, I don't think they saved anything, and I got it right here, if you all did it, it was county clerk, court administrator, district attorney, excuse me, public defender, tax assessor, sheriff's office, county clerk, they're 239 funds. Commissioner court, precinct 2 did it, my office did it, and these are the ones in 15 that lost positions and rolled money over to other salaries that never used
Yeah.
all of it.
Didn't use their salary expense.
And then my office and Terry Battenhammer were the ones that did not get the 4% on that.
Is there a second?
Restate your motion,
I
Commissioner.
would make the motion to include the court coordinators in 40, 41, 42, 44, and 45, and any other inadvertent positions left out of our budget that needs consideration on a case-by-case basis once we understand exactly who they are.
I don't think that's good policy.
Well,
What's passed is passed, period.
We're only talking about he's not including the district clerk's people.
No, I'm just including the ones that are in the 2022 budget that could be considered salary. Well, for example, I can tell you one stands out to me. In the IT department, we have a great reduction because we had a position change there and we reduced that amount, but that person wasn't left out of an increase, still received an increase, but if you look at the salary line, it shows a $11,000 decrease or greater, and so, but it's not someone that was left out. And I think there might be those type of issues in the budget, and I sure don't mind to look at those. I don't want to inadvertently not do anyone. I heard from these people, they made their case a couple of times to us, thinking that they had done the wrong thing by being innovative, and I don't want someone to feel that way.
It's all how you spend Okay. Is there a second to the motion? Okay. Hearing none, let's move on to the next item.
Can I make a motion?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, I would move to just approve the $1,200 raise across the board to all county employees.
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Any other comments, anything from the audience, anyone?
I have a quick question for Mark,
Yes, sir.
Judge.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So the way I understand it, your motion then is going to be a $1,200 across the board for everybody, whether they had a raise last year that was over 3,500 or not.
That's correct.
How many people
Okay.
does that
I mean,
include?
it's four more people besides what the request is.
At least four.
I don't think you leave anyone out.
No.
So you're looking at probably 9 total, we're thinking.
Could you, Mark, did you mark those?
I'll go back to it.
Commissioner, if you look in the 2022 budget, they're already set to get.
Sarah, what?
They're already set.
Are they?
Yeah. You're looking in 2021.
Well, I thought we were based on, this whole thing was based on anyone that got above 3,500, that they were not getting a pay raise.
I think it was just those.
Then why
That's
do we,
my understanding, and that's what I've said all along.
why would we make an exception for those 5? And
Yes.
who is that?
Yes.
Is that fine?
Someone on the call in asked,
Sarah, I'm sorry, this is Tim Murdoch. I don't know if you can hear me, but
Yes, sir.
I want to point out that the Veteran Service Office is open right now.
Right.
So if the motion is approved for everybody, then I assume we would be included as well.
Yes.
Just to point that out.
Yes, sir. But I think there's something to post in the wall.
Point of clarification, as far as the district attorney's budget, you must consider his budget as submitted, as he submitted it. If you're gonna change it, you have to do it. You have to make the changes in passing the final budget. And as far as, if you're gonna open this salary thing wide open, you really don't have a budget for 2022 until you settle that.
You gotta have a number,
Yeah.
I would assume.
I'm looking through the 22 proposed right now.
How are you deciphering, I'm having a hard time picking them out, Mark. I was,
By the amount of increase last year.
oh, you got it, okay.
I looked
I
on
see.
last year's budget.
I got you. You're looking back at the 21 line. I got it now, okay.
So.
I'm just going down the payroll sheet of the increase.
Well, it looks,
You know, you all are gonna vote on this if you do this. You're not the ones gonna stay in here and have to go through and make all those changes, look all it, and completely revise the budget because you're gonna change the bottom line of this budget unless we say those. The only way I can think around that, and Willie, give me your advice, and Cheryl, is to take that money out of general fund contingency and not increase that bottom line.
That is correct. You can take it from 409 and not increase the bottom line, and that would see the
Yeah.
same.
Well, it's $10,000 to $12,000 at least. Yeah.
But we still gotta spend the time to go through and
Yeah.
look for that, and that dog was left lie until,
well,
you know,
just looking at the DA's budget, proposed budget, position 20,
Which, is that the one you showed me there? But I think, Mark, that is by design, though.
so it's position 20. and position 38 are the only ones that's not showing to get the increase. It's position 20.
20 and 38.
Yeah, 20 is showing only a $400 increase.
I know one of those is the victim assistance coordinator, which
Yeah,
makes sense.
victim
because y'all
assistant.
are making her permanent this year.
Yeah.
I requested across the board, I assumed, I thought the judge had put it in, but I wasn't sure on that, but
And
What's number 20? District Court's investigator deputy chief is getting 400.
that's a different, ignore that one. That was an adjustment thing that we did. That's what Jeff was talking about, I think.
so that would, oh, no, what happened?
Linda Barbosa.
Can we take a moment of silence?
Yeah. Let's take a moment of prayer for her family. Father God, we come to you and being faced with this loss of our dear friend Linda Barbosa. We ask you to be with each of her co-workers and her family and to strengthen and support them. It's in your son's name we pray for these things. Amen.
Well, it would seem that, for my motion, that those two adjustments, that you're fine with not having those adjusted?
Those are not necessary now.
Okay, and that would just
For special
leave,
situations.
that would leave position 405, 01, and 02 as the only other exceptions that I can find.
Veterans
Mr. Hampton.
service.
Actually, I'm compelled to stand and say a few things simply because I would never speak against somebody getting a salary increase, because I know I'm going to get off somebody's Christmas card list. But a raise of $8,500, this was done sometime in September of 2020, is a significant raise in my 18 years here as a county employee. And I understand how large departments can combine and change their budget, hoping to increase their pay for other people. But I got on the other side of it is small departments like mine. It absolutely it's a morale killer. And we have no ability to do that sort of thing. And with these 5 folks right here, 3 of them have less time in than my chief deputy. Karen has over 40 years of experience here in Wichita County. And $1,200 may not be a lot of money to you, Commissioner Watts, but that all shakes out to be over $500,000 when we figure out how many people are going to get this $1,200.
Yeah, that's everybody, Bob, except 5.
And
No, 7.
Well,
the
9
bottom line
to 2.
is almost a little over $500,000. That's rough numbers. And I find it very interesting what you said about margins and having people available. I mean, I could have been all over Wendell Homes in 2015 when I came in and actually begged for a third person because I was having really some changes in my office. And I didn't even get a second opinion. And then this year I asked for a person in 222, and golly, that thing went across the pond like a flat rock. So my point is, I don't ever begrudge anybody getting a salary increase. But number one, my God, you're penalizing small departments. And that's what I wanted to get in the notes today is, you guys, yeah, I know everybody likes to be considered the good guy. And this is one of those hard decisions that you get the big dollars for. But it's not fair to the small department when big departments can do what they do. And we had the same thing come up as Ms. Forrest pointed out. So just prior to that $8,500 last year. One last thing. My ladies, 2 of them, never missed a day in 2020. There'd be several days I'd try to send Karen home, and she wouldn't go. So we worked all through the pandemic. We never did close our doors, or we weren't there, and it's just an amazing sitting here listening to all this.
Okay, anything else? We have a motion on the floor. Okay, I believe I understood the motion to be as at an increase of $1,200 each to the court coordinators' positions in departments 440, 441, 442, 444, and 445, and any other employees that were excluded from the $1,200 increase. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioner?
Well, Mr. Gillespie has spoken that he's set his positions where he's comfortable with them,
Excluding 2 positions.
excluding the 2 positions.
Okay.
Which some of the positions already show that increase above the 3,000, so.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Let me call a roll, just do it that way. Commissioner Beecham?
Aye.
Commissioner Fincannon?
No.
Commissioner Waller?
No.
Commissioner Watts?
Aye.
Judge Gossam? No. Motion is defeated, 3-2. Okay, item 3, the salary increase in 404.01 position. This was put into play by Commissioner Beecham and me after reviewing, and our HR director having passed the test and having done so many other things to develop. And as we see different things evolving towards that office in working with the auditor and the benefits people, there's been some spreading of those duties, and we're recommending her salary be raised to a maximum of $60,000, which is approximately a $3,000 increase.
Yes, she does a tremendous job for Wichita County, has saved us, went back in time with Tracy and staff and Cheryl and others' help, has gone back in time and recouped thousands of dollars in workers' comp claims and unemployment claims. So,
Plus, she passed her
yeah.
stuff, didn't she?
Yeah,
Sure,
this is-
Don't ask her to do it again.
I'll make that motion, Judge.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion?
Can I comment?
Yes, sir.
Since she's taken over that office, our communications is 1,000% improved. You know, because, well, she likes to send a lot of good information to us, proper information to us. That's what makes it, you know, she, since she's got in there, this is good, I believe, with the work and things that we get going between our captain and the 2 chiefs, and it's just amazing. Thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, thank you.
And,
Sheriff, thanks for pointing, that was one of the things we put in for her to reestablish the HR office. If they're not on a talking level with all departments, you've got a problem.
yeah, it's all talking business, no gossiping,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
All in all, for me, it's a more, Judge, it's a more secure feeling.
Yeah, I agree.
the way thing, you know, you kind of know where you are, you know what,
Okay,
you
be
know.
careful, guys, she's gonna go for 65.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. All right.
I'm sorry, Judge, who made the motion?
Commissioner Watts, seconded by Commissioner Beecham. Okay, item 4 is the salary adjustments based on ARPA and other non-tax funded increases. This is primarily in people in law enforcement, i.e. Commissioned deputies and detention officers at all levels. We've gone through that. I really appreciate Chief Rutledge, Sheriff, him spending the time he did. I think we have come up with a good plan. Now, the footnote to all of that, everyone has to realize, the government giveth and the government taketh away. And if for some reason that U.S. Marshal contract stopped, that'll be a footnote in that budget section, that if that funding goes away, then it could be detrimental to those salaries in both those cases. I feel like we've worked. Mrs. Jones, I believe we had your blessing on these as a person who controls the gate there. So we're looking good, and I think those make hopefully some substantial positive effect on retention and recruitment of personnel. Anything, sirs, either of you all to add on that?
I just want to say we appreciate the work and going through this whole process, and being 30 detention officers down, it's hard to recover from that. And, you know, we would use street deputies that were jail certified as well to actually work it. Some of them were working double overtime just to help the jail out.
Well,
Of course, with as many inmates we've had in and out of the hospital, and we had up to 12 detention officers out with COVID. Everybody's back now. We're not 100% from the jail, but we're looking to try to reach out.
But
Get that by October.
when we pass this today, then we'll put it together to look at passing, start with this interim period till the first of the year that we talked about for your jail personnel. And to do that, the other positions in it, Mr. Burgoyne and Mr. Nauman are both included in that. And we went back and included our maintenance personnel, who Commissioner Beecham and I discussed that. They will become jail qualified, so we have more uniform exchange of those resources. Anything additional, sir?
No. Are they gonna be required to have the jail certification in order to get the additional pay?
I'd say that's, you and I look over those.
Okay.
I'd say that's, we can certainly put that in there, and that's a department head discrimination, and say, if you want that, whether it be half of it or a third of it or something,
Okay.
to get all of it, you've got to be jail qualified. I don't see a problem in doing that. That's a reasonable thing.
Include the janitorial staff or just the maintenance
No,
staff?
sir, just the maintenance staff, that's
Okay,
all.
got you. All right.
Yeah.
Keep in
All right,
mind, for
make
those
sure.
guys, maintenance guys, that they won't ever have, maybe occasionally we can work toward, they can actually have an inmate worker to work with them.
Yeah.
Help them with some things that they're gonna, you know, they'll be trained how to make sure they're watching and check them and search them and what they gotta do to make sure they don't bring any contraband.
Sure. You know, we've got an HVAC specialist, and I'm working on getting a plumbing specialist, which will help immensely out at the new facility. So that's the intent on trying to get them jail certified, so.
Okay. Do we have a motion then?
So,
Second.
Okay, any other discussion or comment on this item? Okay. A motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Watts to approve the salary adjustments, ARPA, and other non-tax funded increases on the basis that these are there as long as the funding stays. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5. All right. Item B, Discuss, consider, or take action on the maintenance and operations section of the 2022 budget. You all have been presented, that has stayed pretty stable since we started that. And I don't know of any additions, deletions, or questions that you all had on that.
No, Judge, I'd make the motion, we approve the maintenance and operating section of the proposed 2022 budget.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Any other comments? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Beecham to approve the maintenance and operations section of the 2022 budget. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item C is discuss and consider take action on the proposed capital expenditure section in the 2022 budget. For footnote of that, much of that we put into 409 because we were still gathering, especially in the law enforcement area, sheriff, that's the work Chief McFerrin is doing on body cameras and other things. We took what we believe was the gross proposed amount, and it's in there, and so we work out the details. I know he's working on a grant right now.
Right.
That might
That may
reduce.
reduce the cost on the body cameras. Get down.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Judge, did we address, are we going to do it in a different fashion, Kurt's request to us? I know we've spoken briefly about it at other times, but is there any additional monies there for possibility?
Yes, due to and Ms. Jones, we need to carve in a section, that money's gonna come out of the lost funds revenue.
Oh, the revenue reduction,
That's under the ARPA, does that?
like we did the CSCD section, we put those in.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need to
Okay.
keep track of those, because we only have just slightly less than $1.1 million to use in the lost revenue reduction for government services.
Okay, so we do need to go back and modify that, but we'll put it into 409 and then take it out of there and set it up. But there's enough money in 409 because we're going to do the majority of that expense of setting up the office, the vehicle, and some of those things. So it'll just be the operation of that. Let's go back to on item A and take into consideration the approval of the CSCD under under 409 that will not change the bottom line. That was $235,000, I believe, that he had proposed on that.
Yeah, I think it was pretty close to 235,
Yeah.
rounded up about 250 because inflation at this point.
Okay, so this would be to approve the CSCD, there's 2 positions and an office expense to be placed under 409. Have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second?
Second, Judge.
Thank you, sir. Any comments or questions?
Is that motion on the capital expenditure?
No, it's back under,
On the
I'm
back,
sorry.
okay.
It
Oh, you
Make
did
sure,
back
make sure I
A,
know what
okay.
I'm voting
Yeah.
on, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
under A, it would be.
Okay, all right.
5.
All right, got you.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you for getting that back in. Okay, item C is discuss, consider taking action on proposed capital expenditure section of the proposed 2022 budget.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I did have a comment. It shows in the precinct 1 capital expense budget for $378,671. My request was actually $100,000. I talked to Willie this morning. He gave me an explanation. You want to restate that for me, Willie, so I have an understanding of what's going on?
Was increased to make the expenditures equal the revenue.
I noticed that that's all across, you did that all across the board, yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to spend it.
No, I get that, but that was, I want to make sure that, but, yeah, my request was for 100,000.
But with doing that, that also gives you all of you, I've heard you talk about changing some of the equipment while you do it and leasing some things. So instead of purchasing, you're looking at some different leasing arrangements that would give you all the flexibility to transfer that money into precinct 5 and do that.
Okay.
So, no action needed on that then, sir?
No, I just, it just seems artificially inflated, and I just wanted to state that that was not my request for 378,000. My request was for 100,000. That's what I intend to spend.
Mark, on that deal, and I don't think I told you, but Matt, would you speak to I called you about the expenditure coming up in 1 and then looking like it was paid out of 5, but it's just the way it rolls up when we had the temporary employee last.
That's on the invoices paid report that's sent out with the weekly bills. So it's got each of the precincts, but then it rolls up at the end to precinct 5. That's just the main area in Munis that's rolling up to and capturing all of the activity. It's not actually being paid out of precinct 5. It's
Right.
still being paid out of each individual.
Okay. I just forgot to tell you, Mark, after I called him, you paid those employees. It appeared, it looked like it was 5. Judge, you had asked about that, and
Yeah.
so Matt, that was the new methodology in Munis.
Do we have the separate checking accounts established for the precincts?
For each precinct?
Yes, sir.
We do.
We do. All right, great, thanks.
Motion to approve capital expenditure budget as shown.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion or comment? Okay, motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Aller to approve proposed capital expenditure section of the proposed 2022 budget. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0. Okay, item D is discuss, consider, take action on the 2022 budget preface and policy section to include changes and additions and make necessary, I'm adding to this, grammatical, typo, and content corrections. Nancy had put out a handout with a few of those corrections in it. They're nothing significant, but they are necessary to make the document more palatable.
Move to accept, Judge.
Thank you.
Second.
Any other comment or discussion? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. All right, now putting all that together, discuss, consider, take action to set the 2022 budget debt service and interest and sinking rate at 0.070528 cents per $100 of evaluation. That's the money that funds the interest and sinking fund to pay for those debts we have, to include the largest portion of that being for the new jail and law enforcement center.
Yes, sir, about 5.5 cents of that, so you can kind of see our county debt is outside of the LEC is virtual, and it's short term as well, so.
Yes.
But I'd make that motion, Judge.
Okay.
Second.
So, any other comments, anyone? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Watts, seconded by Commissioner Beecham to approve the interest and sinking rate at 0.070528 for the 2020 to support 2022 budget. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 4, discuss, consider, take action to set the road and bridge tax rate at 0.04000.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Meeting.
Yeah, you got beat again.
You're on a delay.
He's on the delay.
Yeah.
I'll give you that one.
Oh,
He's on the delay.
okay, you're gonna, okay.
I think I am on a delay.
Yeah, but, we haven't noticed that much, but, okay. Have a motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Finnegan, to set the road and bridge tax rate at 0.04 cents. Any comment, question, discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, item 5, discuss, consider, take action to set the maintenance and operation rate at the proposed rate of 0.523158 for the constitutional funds and 0.04000 for the special road and bridge tax, for a total of 0.563158. Okay, are there any proposed changes to that?
Yes, sir, Judge, I'd like to amend that motion, or make a motion that's amended to the statement.
Okay. What are you suggesting then?
To accept a maintenance and operation rate, proposed rate of .503313 for the constitutional funds and .04 even for the special road and bridge tax, for a total of .61384, for a total of .543313.
State that again, the last one.
The constitutional funds, .503313, R&B to remain at a flat 4 cents, for a total combined R&B and maintenance and operating fund of .543313.
And that would be the no new revenue rate?
Yes, sir.
Well, certainly any of us, it's hard to argue when someone wants to reduce the tax rate, but I'm concerned and would like to offer, given what we see to assist us in the permanent improvement fund from the ARPA money, that certainly leaves room to consider a reduction in the tax rate. But with the personnel increase, which that 1 cent was set there to do, I'd strongly urge the court to keep that 1 cent in there and then reduce it by the .9845, which would be, to me, a realistic consideration of funding the budget. Because we do have the alternative methods, but we can't use those for the personnel support area.
So you're talking about a penny above the no new rate rather than 1.9.
Yeah.
Is the permanent improvement funds solvent? Where, in other words, we've got the projects on board are already funded. And with the spend rate that of 18 months for the courthouse project, we've got
Yes, sir.
enough in permanent improvement to
Yes, sir.
cover what we have approved to date.
Well, you'll address it now or address it next time.
That,
Basically, yeah.
plus we've got we're in pretty solid footing with bringing a proportion of ARPA to fund some of that construction as well. So,
Just to remind the court, the ARPA finalization rules have not
No.
yet been set, so
No.
we're banking on
But-
something that's not set in stone.
right,
Current
but,
budget with the rate proposed takes $20 million out of savings. So even if we got the ARPA money to pay for all that, we're still $16 million out of savings. That's a lot of money out of savings.
Yeah,
I mean, if it were
We're-
your personal households and you were taking money out of savings, you would either ask for a pay raise, pick up a second job, or make cuts. We've done no cuts. We've only added to the budget, including today. Keep those things in mind.
Well, what I was working off, Cheryl, is that we did add to our fund balance. We took that 21 up. But we are historically used to balancing our budget with those reserve funds.
Correct,
And-
but should we actually spend, if you budget that,
Yeah.
we can legally spend it, so all our department heads could legally spend all of the funds. So we just, we like to keep at least 6 months in reserves
right.
for what ifs, as we've seen happen. Fortunate enough in February, we didn't have any major structural damage from the snowstorm, but we could have.
it's just, yeah. I still believe in what I recommended, but we do have a possible out. But if that doesn't happen, if the ARPA final rules all of a sudden curve all that back in, then we will make a significant decrease in the permanent improvement fund, and you have projects scheduled on out that would exceed that balance. As we look at doing the rest of the annex, and we look at the efforts to be made to build 21st century courtrooms in this building, to adequately house the judges and their staff and the people who are going to participate in juries selection and in juries and courts, and provide the appropriate electronics to cover that.
Well, the permanent improvement fund will have to be refunded in the next,
Yeah,
the next budget.
We have a penny set aside for that.
Right,
That carries over. It's,
Okay.
I was adding that
Yeah.
other .9
Right.
cents.
Excuse me, Judge, that penny going to permanent improvements going there whether or not that's raised or not,
Yeah.
it's already in
yeah,
there.
it's already there,
It's already there. It would be the 1.9 cents roughly.
so,
So it's in the M&O, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
but with the burn rate or the expense rate on that, on the jail, or not the jail, I get all these projects mixed up, so the courthouse project, it's a 18-month project, so we're not expending the entire $4 million next year. We're expending about half of that.
The permanent improvement fund has been tremendously
It's hugely
necessary
beneficial.
for this organization, and in my time here, we've used it to fix emergency situations, whether it be HVAC,
Yeah.
and other things, and it's been vital, and I'm very much a strong believer in having it, because it is our go-to deal when we get into a jam, and that's why I'm saying, if we're gonna burn it down pretty hard, even with the penny going back in, we're gonna have to refund it in the next
Well-
budget cycle, if we don't do it.
We'll have to at least continue with Penny, and hopefully the ARPA funding will come through, which it seems like it's going to. It's a gamble, but it's a gamble that we could ride this year out with what we have.
Our best
current.
guess, anyway.
Right.
You know.
We could ride this year out and slow the progress down on other things, but if that becomes a reality.
But, as we talk about that and as we continue to work, we're seeing other possible things. I sent you all a thing about on the ARPA funding that given the dated age of Electra Hospital ambulances, I think they're all 8 years or more in age, that we would go ahead and work with them and fund a second ambulance to kind of bolster that up. We collect about, I'll give it a range of $45,000 to $60,000 a year in taxes out of the Electra Hospital District that theoretically go to support in healthcare. So we've always helped them at the tune of about $50,000 on purchasing new ambulances. I think this time there's certainly enough justification to do that. We've also looked at some joint projects that the city would provide the paved roadway. We would use some ARPA funds for about $1 million worth for water and sewer, and that would be a unique situation on county roads, but it's an area that comes out of the city, passes through part of the county, and then back into city-owned facilities at the industrial park in the eastern part of the county. Also, we're putting together a committee on broadband to look at some of that expenditure, trying to improve broadband density, especially in the western part of the county. But working with Ms. McCain at the hospital, they are applying for some Department of State Health Services funding that may actually carry that load out there.
Or telehealth, or.
Yeah, and it'd be because of telehealth, but once you get on the internet, it doesn't care what you're doing. Yeah, but it would be much more accessible to people in the western part of the county.
Guys, I would love to walk away from here today with a no increase tax rate. I really would. I think that's the frame of mind that we're in. We're trying to do the right thing. We've been asked by many members of the public to do that, and I would love to do that, and yet, you know, you really have to listen to wise counsel from your auditor. That's always important. This is the tough part of this job.
Well, we have a $1 million wild card in voting machines too.
Yes, sir.
We don't know if that's funded yet or not.
And Secretary of State's office, Lori talked with them last week, and they still haven't made up their mind how they're going to take, for sure, how much money they're getting, and then how they're going to divide it up. But there are 8 counties that have to replace their voting equipment. So that's on the edge of things for us.
The good news is that we have gotten our indebtedness, with the exception of the bond issue, which I think you have to set that aside.
Sure.
We've got our indebtedness situation in much better shape than it was 2 years ago, and that gives you a little bit of ability to go back, and we do still have a good rating, and gives you the ability to fall back on that if you get into one of these emergency situations.
Yeah.
I'm not a big money borrower myself, but
No.
there are times when it's a good decision. Gosh, guys, I'd love to set that example. I'd really love to do it.
Well, that is the motion on the floor.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, you're talking about the 2 cent reduced, 1.9 cent reduction. That's what you're seconding?
We're on the M&O, yeah, the 1.9 cent reduction.
Okay.
Yeah, which is the NNR.
To the,
Isn't that correct?
the .543313.
Right. Okay. Any comments, anyone in the audience or on the phone? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Fincannon to set the tax rate at the no new revenue rate of 0.543313. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 4 ayes and 1 no. Okay, item 6.
Judge and I have that calculation.
Okay.
I would move that the property tax rate be decreased by the adoption of the tax rate of .613841, which is effectively a 4.684% decrease in the tax rate.
State those numbers again, please.
I would move that the property tax rate be decreased by the adoption of a tax rate of .613841, which is effectively a 4.68% decrease in the tax rate.
Help us on that, that's in the previous year's.
Yes,
tax rate.
that's just a
That's misleading,
decrease
isn't
in
it?
rate only. It's not a decrease in any dollar value. It's just the difference between .644005, our old rate, to the new rate of .613841. That difference is 4.68%.
Judge, I've got a whole section back here that's misleading. Came out of Austin, Texas.
Yeah, the truth in that section.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Mr. Wall had some concern about the wording as opposed in chapter 26, but Ms. Jones, you and Mr. Davis went through and you thought this was the updated language we should be using for the adoption of the rates?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Judge, that
And I'd like to
percentage-
second that, Judge.
Judge, that percentage would
Okay.
be 4.91%.
4.91.
4.91%?
Yes, sir.
That's from previous year?
Previous year.
Yes.
Okay.
So the number is still .613841.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Shall we put out a challenge to all other entities to do this hard work?
Yeah.
I may have lost 5 pounds just sitting up here the last hour.
Okay.
It's,
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Watts. We have a second.
second.
Make,
He got you that time.
Mr. Delay there.
I said it a while ago, Mark. I already said it.
Actually, you did say that a while ago. I'm sorry, he did.
Okay, you got it.
Mickey, go ahead and second the next one. That way it'll get here in time.
Well, he kind of did that
Well,
pretty second.
I did step up and second that motion a few moments ago.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Motion by Commissioner Watts and seconded by Commissioner Fincannon is to move that the property tax rate be decreased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.613841, which is effectively a 4.91% decrease from the tax rate. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Good work. Willie, Nancy,
Thank
y'all,
you.
Cheryl,
Thank you.
Matt,
Yeah.
y'all can't even fathom how many hours and things we put this together, but by golly, next year when the Munis system is up completely alive and well, and you know something we're not gonna have, if he sticks to his plan, Mr. Wall will have 40 years with the county next June. You're gonna have to hustle, Willie, to get the budget all done before. You know,
Go ahead and do about 3 years while you're.
Well, we're, Cheryl, it will be crippled upon your expertise, yours and Matt's of Munis and how to transition. I told Nancy one thing, maybe we start early and let those department heads try to.
They can practice all day long and train. It does not affect anything. Nancy's been in train working bids.
Good.
So,
But it worries me because Willie's been our stopgap and our go-to and our, you name it. He's been that for us and voice of confidence and everything else, so we're going to greatly miss that. and we're gonna be a little bit flighty.
Well, he said he might come back as a consultant.
Oh, okay, okay.
Now we're talking.
Okay.
Judge, the Republican women are waiting. I make a motion, we pay our bills, which is the next one.
Okay.
And I'll second that.
You beat me.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Muller, second by Commissioner Fincannon, to review and approve the regular bills for payment, order the county treasurer to disperse payroll and bill payments within 72 hours unless directed otherwise. And let me explain that otherwise after Mr. Hampton's counsel on payment of the Mellon Bank loan, which is the LEC. I learned something I didn't follow. I thought if you paid on a bank note early, you saved on it. But in the way that's structured, it's not. So we're making money to get that done, and that's why we'll have that phrase in there that might say, please, that he pays that bill by the Friday or Monday before it's due, a few days later, like you did the last time, and it worked out well. Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Update on the courthouse and elevator projects and law enforcement.
I'll be really brief. Elevator project at the annex, the elevator is mostly installed, should be functionally complete by Thursday of this week. So that does not mean it'll be operational, but it will be functionally complete. They still
I
have,
was surprised to see the door was so much smaller than the opening.
it's still large enough for ADA compliance, so.
When I get trapped in there, I'm calling you.
Yeah, the elevator project here at the courthouse, we spent an awful lot of time last week walking that project. In all oddity, the sheriff's office area of the courthouse and the area where you walk down around HR into the jail, there's 7 inches different in elevation in that floor, even though it's a flat floor. So we're gonna have to drill the back wall of the elevator shaft in order to verify the height of the floor before we can give the final measurements. It's odd. We went through the whole, with a laser through the whole jail floor, and it rises,
That's
it
just
falls,
shocking.
it goes all kinds of
Amazing.
places. So to get an accurate reading, we're gonna have to drill through.
That's interesting.
It is, but there's an additional step from, coming down from the HR side than what there is from the sheriff's office side. I've never noticed it until,
Yeah.
Never read it.
but that floor looks flat in there.
Oh, who done? Okay.
So, old building.
All right.
And LEC, we're still working on soundproofing. We did do an experiment with one room last week where we ran a tape, or video. I was in the next room screaming. You could hear me scream on the tape, but you couldn't tell what I was saying. So it's improved, but we'll leave it to the DA and the sheriff's office to decide if that's sufficient, so.
Judge, there was a Lori sent me a note that her employee is,
She's gonna close her office.
no, bounced back and is stable at this current time.
What? Wow.
They were able to revive.
Do
Wow.
what?
They
Lori.
revived her last night, so I got a message from Margaret, her daughter Morgan, works in that office. Actually, Linda is her direct supervisor. And the message was actually last night, they lost her and brought her back, but when they relayed it to the office this morning, they thought it was right then.
Oh, good grief,
Oh,
good
wow.
grief.
Well, that was a great answer to prayer.
Great prayer, great prayer.
I was doing a,
Yeah,
Wow.
hey, it
Wow.
all works.
that makes me
Yep.
feel better.
Every time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, it is 11:51. Thank you, gentlemen, for excellent work. And what I do want to say is we can work and disagree, but when we leave here, we're all marching together to get the same job done for the citizens of this county. So thank you all very much. we're adjourned.
Today is the hard part in this job.
Yeah.
Still gonna have to go home today.
Yeah, this afternoon, yeah.